Hallo und willkommen zu Lonestar. Wir spielen Agathe Christie, Hercule Poirot, The First Cases. Und wir wollten mal raus in den Garten gehen. Ah, aber wenn wir schon mal hier sind, dann sagen wir doch Angeline mal guten Morgen.
Good morning, Detective. I hope you were comfortable last night.
Bonjour, mademoiselle. The room was more than pleasant, merci. I'm afraid my mind was not in a state to enjoy it to its full potential, though.
I can't imagine any of us slept soundly last night.
Hopefully, guilt will be weighing heavily on someone's shoulders this morning.
Perhaps on more than one set.
I'm sorry if I was not much help last night, Detective.
On the contrary, your inside knowledge of the guests was of great help to my investigation. But there are many more questions that require answers.
What were your feelings toward the Major's position in the house?
His position? You mean about him living here?
Oui, even in a house this size, you must see a lot of each other.
I enjoyed having him here. When I was away with Gideon, it was comforting to know Maman was not alone. Although his work with Mr. Da Silva has kept him away from the house of late.
What can you tell me about their relationship, working or otherwise?
There is not much to tell, only that there is no love lost between them.
Do you know what their business entailed?
He was always quite private about his work. I know that he was helping Mr. Da Silva with some safety matters.
I found a check addressed to the Major from Monsieur Da Silva. It noted security consulting.
Ah, that's right, security. With his military training, he helped Mr. Da Silva prepare for any trouble with the strikes.
Also, the Major's death has taken precedence. There has been a development in the blackmail case. Echt?
A development? Oh, Detective, I knew I could count on you.
It may not be the news you had wished for, though. Another letter has been found.
Addressed to me? I don't know how much more I can take of this.
Pardonnez-moi, mademoiselle. Although it has been written in the same manner, using similar phraseology, it was not sent for your eyes, rather the Major's. Or at least that is how it seems.
I'm sorry, Detective, I don't understand. It is addressed to him or not?
I found it in the Major's study yesterday while conducting my preliminary search. Whether he is the author of the letter or the recipient, I am still yet to discover.
Could the Major have been behind the blackmail?
Heavens no, he could not do that.
You did not hesitate for a moment.
Why would he do such a thing? And then to send a letter to himself. It just doesn't make sense.
Merci for your time, mademoiselle. You are to a detective what an umbrella is to a traveler on a wet day.
Useful?
Exactement.
Das hilft uns etwas weiter. Angeline knew the Major well. Angeline disputes the Major as being the blackmailer. She doesn't believe the Major is behind the blackmail. She sees the good in him. She has a positive impression of him. If only she knew his full character. Is her view of the Major consistent?
Magnifique.
Ja. One can't be surprised with Angeline and Felix Bond. He's been a figure in her life for so long. Angeline attached to the Major. Also, dann haben wir uns warm angezogen. Ab in den Garten. Finding evidence of the figure from last night will on one hand confirm I'm not seeing things as Monsieur Sterling suggested, but on the other hand pose even more questions that must be answered. Expensive Leiter.
Aha.
A well-made lighter with the insignia of a military regiment. The major must have dropped it. Ja, dann mit.
Oh.
Darf ich nicht mitnehmen? Ja, wie? Faint footprints.
Oh.
There's a small trail of footprints in the snow. The major was seen walking around here yesterday. Ja, aber wenn es von yesterday war... Moment, nochmal geklickt. Dann wären die doch jetzt schon weg, also bei dem Wind. Ich finde es so lustig, wie der Schnee hier verschwindet, wenn wir hier laufen. Das ist nett gemacht. Tun mal ein bisschen Schnee räumen. Ja, ich weiß. Ich lasse es jetzt. Okay, schauen wir mal hier um die Ecke. Kommen wir dahinter? Nee. Wo guckt eigentlich unser Fenster raus? Ist es überhaupt die richtige Stelle? Fallen Bird Feeder. It has almost disappeared in the snow. I doubt we will see too many birds in these conditions. Ich sehe da gar nichts. Ja. Wollte hier vorbeilaufen, aber es gelingt mir nicht. Völlig eingeschneit. Na, dahin. Gucken. Halt, nein, da ist wieder der Birdfeeder, da wollen wir nicht hin. Gibt's hier noch was? Ob man hier beim Tor was sieht? Exit is impossible.
Aha.
The house is completely snowed in. It does not look like we shall be going anywhere anytime soon. The snow is still falling and I am hardly dressed for the occasion. Perhaps Madame van den Bosch has finished her breakfast and is ready to answer my questions. Ich wollte noch nicht rein. Jetzt habe ich nur eine Seite angeguckt. Ich hätte mich vielleicht besser beeilen sollen und hätte nicht so rumspielen sollen im Schnee. Haja. Arch, wo ist sie denn?
Whatever you need, Detective.
Nee,
Our assistant.
ich wäre so gerne nochmal rausgegangen. While I must speak with Madame van den Bosch, I should also take this opportunity to talk to Mademoiselle Rihanna in the kitchen. Rihanna.
Bonjour, Monsieur Damir.
Detective Poirot, how are you?
The truth, Monsieur. With each step towards uncovering the blackmailer, I am thrown 2 steps back as to the identity of the Major's killer.
Is there something I can help you with?
While in the study, I noticed the major safe was locked. Would you know who has access?
Felix and Madame van den Bosch are the only ones with keys, as far as I'm aware. Oh, and Archibald. I'm sure I heard Felix asking him to return something to it once.
I wonder why Monsieur Sterling didn't mention this previously. After investigating the crime scene yesterday, I asked Monsieur Sterling to move the body.
Archibald came to me and asked for my help in the matter. My brother and I dealt with it.
Merci for your help. It is a job that only the professionals should have to undertake.
It's a job that had to be done, although it may have affected my brother more than I.
How so?
At the sight of the body, the color drained from his face. Once we had reached the cellar, Zachariah took himself straight off to bed, without even a good night.
Have you spoken with your brother this morning?
I have not seen him since last night. I'm sure he will have been fine after a good night's sleep.
Oder ist es der nächste Tote? I imagine the alcohol would have acted as a sufficient sleeping aid.
He does not need his younger brother checking in on him.
Perhaps that is exactly what he requires.
I'm not sure what he told you yesterday, Detective, but he's a big boy. He can look after himself.
I worry that may not be the case, monsieur. His time in the war came up in conversation more than once during our conversations.
He's still talking about it? I thought talking to the doctor would have stopped all of that.
Merci, monsieur.
Hat also Post-Traumatic Stress. Oder wie das heißt. So. Was haben wir hier? Zack was shocked by the Major's corpse. Zack must have seen more than his fair share during the war. So why would Zack be so affected by the sight of the Major's corpse? Zack was therapized after war. It is nothing Zack should hide. What he must have experienced I wouldn't wish upon anyone. Gideon claims Archibald has access to the safe. Gideon is adamant Archibald has a copy of the Major's safe key. I shall raise this with him.
The pieces of the puzzle are finally coming together.
I have heard of men returning physically from war, but their minds remain on the battlefield. Zack may have shell shock. I've heard of men. Achso, das haben wir schon. Talk to Gideon.
If it will help you find the Major's killer, of course.
Your brother was seeing a doctor?
When he returned from the war, he was a different man. Everything became about what he had seen.
I cannot speak from experience, but I can only imagine the horrors he must have witnessed.
The first weeks he would wake in the night, screaming. I found him one night, cowering behind a desk in the study. And when I tried to help him out from beneath it, well, that was the first time I had ever feared for my life.
That is not why you two are no longer close?
And not at all, Detective. We were always very different in nature. While I had always wanted to follow an academic path, Zachariah was more of a free spirit. Or at least as free as our father and the laws would allow.
And yet, he ended up in the military. Quite the contrast.
Our father demanded that he at least try to do something with his life. And when some of his friends joined the army, he signed up with them. It wasn't long before he moved out from the family home after his return from the army. I always assumed that he had put the war and everything that came with it behind him and was moving on. But now I see that is far from the truth.
Damit bekommen wir auch noch eine Info. Zack has shell shock. The story Gideon tells of his return was painful to hear. I hope he continues to seek help. Margot.
Countess, I wonder if I could ask you some questions.
That is it, Detective? No small talk? No inflating of one's ego?
I am afraid not, Countess. With the murderer still loose in the house, my mind is rather preoccupied.
Well then, Detective, perhaps I can be of some assistance.
Comment, madame?
I thought you might like to know what I found on the Major's body.
I demand to know who gave you permission to see the Major's body.
That certainly piqued your interest.
A man has been murdered, and you find it acceptable to fool around and joke.
Oh, please, Detective. Do you really think so little of me? Archibald asked for my assistance. He knows of my medical training from my days as a nurse, and I thought I would be able to help. Even if it has been some years.
It was not his place to grant you access to the body.
I shall remember to keep my assistance to myself next time.
What did you discover on the body?
A single stab wound, which you no doubt already knew. The knife was held in their right hand. I would say their predominant hand.
I pride myself on order and method, and this is far from either. A suspect in a murder investigation has examined the very victim that they are suspected of killing. It is like something out of a crime novel.
Judging by the depth of the wound, I would say there was no great force put into the strike. More a sign of defense than attack. If I had to say what weapon was used, a small sharp knife or dagger.
This may confirm my suspicions of the Major's knife being used to kill him.
I understand it may be difficult for one to keep such information to yourself, but I ask you to try. Your involvement has already tainted my investigation.
You are welcome, Detective.
When my superior officer hears of the going-ons in this house, I will surely be seeing the green fields of the countryside once more. I must do all I can to redeem the reputation I have worked to build, starting with finding the killer.
S'il vous plaît, Comtesse. Keep this information to yourself.
Ja, das lief ja nicht so gut. Archibald asked Margot to inspect the body. I can't believe Archibald would allow this to happen. The crime scene and the body have been tainted. Defensive strike. The wound is not common with an aggressive attack, more like a defensive strike. Ist er ihm vielleicht ins Messer gerannt? Oder hat sich dafür eine Frau verteidigt? Vielleicht war es ja die Cassandra selber. Ja, wo finde ich die jetzt? Ist die vielleicht auch da drin? Da hast du schon mal nicht. Und mit dir rede ich nochmal. It's a bust. Madame van der Bosch's collection of art extend further than just paintings. Ja, hier wieder lauter Geschmacklosigkeiten an der Wand. Ist hier irgendwas? Nee, da ist noch meine.
Huh.
Window.
Huh.
Ja, wieder mal aus dem Fenster geguckt. Warum auch nicht? Vielleicht sehen wir mal wieder was Interessantes. Vielleicht ist da was Interessantes.
Ah.
Nö. Die gleiche nochmal, ist ja wie aus dem Ikea. Und dann können wir hier noch rausschauen? Nee? Nicht? Nochmal ein Drinks Globe. Komisch, dass sie wirklich an jeder Ecke in diesem Haus stehen. Kitchen. Ja, komm, dann gehen wir erstmal in die Kitchen. Lauter frisches Gemüse. Da steht sie auch schon. Pots and pans. The cook has obviously used them for quite some time, judging by their condition. Das ist ja in Ordnung. Oh, ein Riesenbrot. Gibt's hier hinten noch was? Mounted Animal Head. Noch so ein Ding. Oh, ein Kuchen. Ja, so eine Erdbeertorte jetzt, ne? Ah. Kappert. There doesn't seem to be anything of interest in here. Vor allen Dingen ist es wahnsinnig hoch. Da kommt man echt nur mit dem Stuhl hoch und selbst dann ist es noch zu hoch. Da bräuchte man eigentlich schon eine Leiter. Also, wer das gebaut hat, das könnt ihr mindestens mal bis hierhin runter. Na dann. Rihanna!
Bonjour, madame. You must be the wonderful cook.
Wonderful and modest, sir. I am Rihanna.
My taste buds thank you for the ravishing meal last night. It has been some time since I ate so well.
Glad to hear it, sir.
S'il te plaît, madame. A detective is fine.
In that case, mademoiselle is fine for me, and I will ignore your presumption of marriage.
Très bon, mademoiselle.
Have you been with the Van den Bosch family for quite some time?
That's right. I've seen staff come and go, but a house always needs a trustworthy cook.
I agree. But if I was to eat what you prepare every day, I fear I may be the size of la maison.
Not a bad thing, detective. You could do with some meat on your bones.
Well, with the snow still not clearing, we may be stuck here for the weekend. Perhaps I should look to adjust my pantalon buttons.
I understand you took some ice to the Major yesterday.
I did. Monsieur Archie told me what had happened. Bruises can swell fast, so I took him some ice to bring it down.
Strange. Monsieur Sterling told me it was the Major that requested the ice.
How was the Major when you saw him?
Grumpy, as always.
I suppose one would not take kindly to being punched as he was.
Punched or not, he was as ungrateful as ever.
I shall not keep you any longer. Merci, mademoiselle.
Ja, mit dem Arch ist sowas faul. Rihanna took ice to the Major on her own accord. I was led to believe the Major asked for ice to be brought to him, but Rihanna says otherwise. Rihanna said the Major didn't thank her. Her description of the Major coincides with almost everyone's opinion of the Major. Dann wird es jetzt Zeit für Cassandra. Oh, das ist ja mal ein Frühstückstisch.
Bonjour, madame. May I offer my condolences for your loss?
Thank you, Detective, but they are not necessary. What can I do for you?
I was hoping you would be prepared to answer some questions.
If I must.
Why would someone want to kill the Major?
I'm sure you're aware he was not the easiest man to get along with. His hot temper made him a number of foes.
A hot temper is reason enough to kill a man.
His mouth often acted before his brain. Perhaps someone had grown tired of dealing with it.
Sie zum Beispiel. Fangen wir doch mal mit dem Letter an. A letter was found in the Major's study.
I assume you are talking about the supposed blackmail letter.
Oui, madame. You know of it?
It arrived shortly after the first. Rather coincidental, if you ask me.
I'm not sure I understand what you're trying to say, madame.
He no doubt had secrets hidden away. But do you honestly think Felix had anything of value to his name worth threatening him for?
Perhaps you should enlighten me.
Well, he was here, living in my house, eating my food, prepared by my staff. Does that answer your question, Detective?
Ja, dass er sich da ziemlich gut eingelebt hat, ja? Auf die Kosten von den anderen. How do you think the Major came to have the letter?
I wouldn't put it past him to have written it himself, in the hopes of getting some sympathy from me.
Okay, das klingt jetzt aber nicht mehr so, als wäre er der große Freund gewesen.
And the other letters?
He probably wrote those too. If Angeline paid the first, that would have given him the money to pay the second letter. He is the White Knight, saves the day, and expects to live here happily ever after.
I did not expect Madame van den Bosch to be so blunt with her thoughts toward the Major. I was under the impression there was more to their friendship, not less. It is quite the nefarious plan that Madame has laid out for the Major. I am not sure I can believe he would go to such levels of deceit. I'm sure Mademoiselle Angeline will have an opinion on the matter. You suggested why someone might kill him, but who do you believe would do it?
Seeing as I heard Mr. Becker's in what I would describe as an unnecessarily loud exchange of words yesterday, he would be my first suspect.
You heard them yourself?
How could I not? The volume they were shouting at, I could hear them from the study in my room.
You did not think it fitting to tell me this yesterday?
I didn't think Felix was going to wind up dead and a murderer loose in my house. My apologies, Detective.
Ja, hoffentlich. Also, I must learn more of this argument. It is not Madame that I expect the answers to come from. Rather Monsieur Becker's. He has a great deal of explaining to do. I'd like to ask you about Monsieur de Silva.
What is it you wish to know?
You two have been friends for some time now. And while I do not mean to pry, has your relationship only...
If you are trying to insinuate that Mr. De Silva and I are running around like schoolchildren, you could not be further from the truth. He was friends with my husband, for goodness sake.
Oui, I understand they worked together. Investments, if I am correct.
Mr. De Silva was the voice of reason that my husband should have listened to more often, instead of throwing our money at businesses that were already on the verge of bankruptcy.
Merci, madame. I shall not bother you any further.
Hatte da vielleicht der Ernesto da auch Geld verloren? I've gathered all I need from Madame van den Bosch and Mademoiselle Rihanna. I should return to the Great Hall. Aber war die wirklich so great, die Hall? Also. The Major had a temper. Cassandra confirms the Major's hot temper may have led to his death. Cassandra suspects Hugo. Elizabeth informed Cassandra of an argument between Hugo and the Major. Could this have been the instigator to the tussle that resulted in his death? Major didn't have much to his name, considering his rank and apparent societal position. The Major had very little capital to his name. Cassandra believes the Major was the blackmailer. Cassandra is confident the Major was behind the blackmail letters. Given his reputation, surely most would agree. Aber Angeline nicht.
Some would say a lucky guess. I would say a moment of genius.
Angeline and Cassandra have different impressions of the Major. There must be a reason for this. Talk to Angeline. Conflicting opinions. Ist die Main Hall jetzt die Great Hall oder wird die nochmal greater? So, jetzt erstmal zu dir. Jawohl, erstmal an Angeline.
Is there something I can help you with, Detective?
Your mama did not describe her friendship with the Major in such a positive light.
You have got the wrong end of the stick, Detective. Maman has snapped at him recently, but it was nothing more than that. It was something to do with the letter. I heard them in the library before Maman shouted and he stormed out of the room past me.
Could it have been the blackmail letter that instigated their argument?
Why would Maman be upset with him over the letter?
Madame is of a very different opinion from yourself regarding his connection with the letters. She believes him to be the author.
That is what she told you? She has always been one to make a quick, if not rash decision, but she cannot truly believe that.
Was the Major aware you had paid the first blackmail letter?
I don't recall telling him directly. I did not want Maman to find out it had been paid. If he knew, surely she would.
Vielleicht ein Trittbrettfahrer?
Madame believes he may have been behind all the letters, and taking your payment of the first, then used it to pay the second and be the hero in you and your mother's eyes.
I never knew Maman had such an imagination. Where would she get a story like that from?
That is a question I was hoping you may be able to answer.
You have met him. Do you really think he's capable of such a devious plan?
Ja, eigentlich ist er zu dumm dafür.
It is a plan only the most crooked and underhanded could create. Is that the Major? I am not so sure.
The more I think on Madame's story, the more ridiculous and obscure it sounds. But that does not mean it cannot be ruled out.
I shall not keep you any longer. Merci, mademoiselle.
Ja, jetzt können wir wieder eine Verbindung herstellen und mal auch mit Arch mal wieder reden. Das machen wir aber nicht mehr heute. Machen wir an dieser Stelle lieber erstmal ein kleines Päuschen. Und ich hoffe, es hat euch gefallen. Und wir sehen uns das nächste Mal.